Good morning and welcome to Big Agent Meeting. It is Friday, April 24th. We are going to call this EXPCon Vancouver edition. My name is Russ Lagan, the host today. We've got a really great special edition for you guys at the Big Agent Meeting, and we're going to dive into a bunch of really great stuff. If you missed this one being at Vancouver, maybe we'll be able to see you in Salt Lake City in October, which is going to be 5, 6, 7 times the size of this one. So we have a great show for you today, guys. I've got Candace Garcia. I've got Alyssa Speck live and in person in the room with me from the EXP University team here in Vancouver. They're going to jump on in just a minute and talk about some of the things that we're launching in EXP University. We got courses, trainings. They're super excited to be part of the show today, and I can't wait for them to tell you all about it. We've got Ian Wheatley with KGCI. We've got Bryon Ellington with Lab Notes. We've got Agent Advantage with EXP Solutions partner Seller Shield. If you don't know about them, stick around for that. And then you want to stick around to the end because Kalei Mabery always has amazing stuff in the Brokerage edition, Brokerage Brief, where she's going to tell you what's going on in the market so you can take your business to the next level and stay safe as a real estate agent. So without further ado, I'm going to kick it over to Alyssa and Candace.
Guys, we have a stacked week next week, starting with FastATTRACT featuring...
Hey, what's going on? Russ Lagan here. FastATTRACT April 27 starts next Monday. You guys want to show up. If you want to talk about attraction, adding a couple people to your business, have that second stream of income potential. You're already meeting agents anyway, so you might as well learn how to do some conversion. So stay tuned. Jump in FastATTRACT April 27. Jump in and register.
And then join us on April 28th for Lead Mastery open houses. Candace, what are we giving them with open houses?
We're giving them a new AI tool. We're giving them a brand new open house app. And for anyone who attends, we're going to enter them into an open house challenge.
Make sure that you register on expuniversity.com.
And then join us April 29th for FastCap featuring Candace Garcia and Alyssa Speck. This is going to be a 6-week program designed to get you in production fast. And it now includes a lead opportunity that we'll tell you more about when you click below to register.
You can register for all of these trainings right now at expuniversity.com. They are filling up fast, so do not wait. Back to you, Russ.
So we're always bringing the fun and bringing the good vibes and knowledge and wisdom. Next up for that is Ian with KGCI. Take it away, Ian.
Hey, thanks, Russ. Looking like EXPCon Vancouver was an absolute blast. Very proud of our Canadian hosts over here on KGCI Real Estate on Air for being a part of the event this year. Nadia Beeb, Carrie Sauve, John Tsai, and many more taking over Vancouver. And if you want some of those same insights from those same voices, we're bringing the stage to your headphones on demand inside of the vault at the all-new realestateonair.fm. Search by topic, filter by host. Recommend plugging in 2 letters, A-I, and filter in for Carrie Sauve. Now, before I tell you about how this week's Friday Focus happening today on KGCI Real Estate on Air could be turning your database into a treasure trove, I want to remind you that we put a lot of work in over here to make sure that we're bringing you the exact strategies and tactics that you need to know to build that real estate business that you want. And that includes you. Right? The market is shifting. Agents are voting with their attention, and agents aren't just coming over to KGCI Real Estate on Air to hear some noise. They're coming by for insights that they can use immediately. So when you need better marketing, stronger conversion, or maybe a smarter way to grow, those agents are trusting KGCI Real Estate on Air and the voices that they hear. Now, that trust is what makes this platform so different, right? We're your favorite DJ, your favorite talk show hosts, chatting with you how to run your real estate business better. And the best agents don't just consume this content. They contribute to the conversations that are shaping the industry. So KGCI Real Estate on Air brings together top producers, elite coaches, and operators who are actively influencing how agents think, how agents act, and most importantly, how agents go out there and win. And this isn't just distribution, right? It's positioning. So if you're out here creating content that is out here helping agents perform at a higher level, I want you to bring it by to KGCI Real Estate on Air. Expand your audience, build some authority, and be heard where agents are already listening. Scan the code, connect with me, email, text, schedule a meeting, however you want to get it done, or you can always find me in that all-new eXp Realty Hub. Now, about that database, right? Because right after the big agent meeting over on KGCI Real Estate on Air, we're diving into how top producers are building relationships with their database and how you can do it too. This is going to be 6 straight hours dedicated to improving your SOI and lead conversion. And if you miss it, make sure that you subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart, or wherever you like to listen to podcasts, because we'll be pushing those same episodes so you can listen on demand on your time to KGCI Real Estate on Air.
All right. Thank you, Ian Wheatley. Next up, we have Lab Notes with Bryon Ellington. He's got Hunter and Kalei from the agency team in Hawaii. I know you guys are hearing a lot about Icon Lead Mastery open houses this morning. This interview is one of the dozens that we actually use to build the course. You're going to actually get real strategies that actually work from real Icon agents. Here's a sneak peek. Check this out.
So tell me about that. What was the challenge that you set for yourself?
The challenge was self-explanatory. You had to show up every single day, no matter what, 30 days through the whole month. Now, as far as the open houses go, it wasn't, you had to find a different open house every single day. We sat at 5 to 6 of the same open houses, but alternated it week through week. So Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, we'd do one house, Tuesdays and Thursdays, another, and the weekends, we had another property lined up. So every single day we aimed to be productive within the open house. If you're at an open house, we highly, we do not recommend you just sitting there and twiddling your thumbs. We needed each other to be at least door knocking. One of us door knocking, one of us, keeping the open house running. And then if not, cold calling at the bare minimum, so those were kind of the parameters. We wanted to just make sure we hit every single day and be productive throughout the 3 to 5 hours. Our first open house, I think we sat there for like 7 hours. We were just we were just running in hot with that one, but we wanted to be productive the whole time.
I like that. Yeah, a friend of mine, Joe Turco, one of the agents we interviewed for this open house class, he did 5 a week, right? And his philosophy of it was, well, you're going to sit somewhere to do your work as a realtor, right? Why not sit in an open house where you're putting yourself in the best possible chance of the flow of traffic? I'm really curious though. So 30 open houses, 30 days. Now, sounds like you sat about really half a dozen or so different distinct properties, but you were sitting them multiple days, which is smart, by the way. Were they the agency team listings, or were they other EXP agents listings?
Yes, they were all EXP listings. And one thing that we did was we would look for open houses that were pretty much newer properties on the market. We didn't really like to sit things that were sitting too long, just because with the newer, there's more urgency with newer properties. So that's one thing that we found was very important. Was we did sit a few that were older listings, didn't get as much traction. So we did spend a little bit more time on the back end of the month on those newer listings, so we can get newer people to come in and check it out, more people.
Okay. And I'm assuming you were sitting mostly vacant or all vacant listings?
Yeah.
Especially when you're holding that open that many times, that would be pretty inconvenient for the seller. So the EXP agents whose listings you were sitting, what was your kind of pitch to them to let them to have them let you hold their listing open?
Yeah, so we kind of just said we gave them a call. We made sure to do our research first, though, picking listings that were in good areas, setting us up for success. We didn't want to sit in the boonies, random area. So we would call these listings. We say, hey, we're just doing a 30-day challenge. We're young, very motivated realtors that we want to hold your open house on these set days, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 2 to 5. Would you be open to us sitting at your listing? And we can, we'll give you guys all the leads too if you guys want, but for the listing agents that come through. But we would love to just gain experience and pretty much just be super open about what we're trying to do there. And I would say 8 to 9 times out of 10, they would just be very open and they would love it. And especially being on EXP, they'd just be like, yes, of course, we'd love for you guys to help us out. And it was just a really good experience to talk to the other agents as well and get our name out there, because they really looked at us and they're like, wow, you guys are doing a lot of good stuff. We really appreciate it.
When you approached those agents, were you kind of selling the benefit to them? And if so, what did you tell them?
Yeah, so we were pretty much like, we wanted to let them know that we are going to give them as much exposure to the market as possible. Having their listings not only being on the open house for three days out of the week, we were also going to promote it on social media, do all these things to help their listing sell and get as much people to that property as if you was to only just open it up one day out of the week. Maybe they would open up once in the month. So we really wanted to push for the marketability of their listing to be shown to such a variety of people over a big span of time throughout the month.
Yeah. Afterward, were you sharing any of the promotional outcomes or anything like that with them, or it was just like, hey, we're going to do this, and they trusted you that it would be done?
Yeah, I think it really just sold it. We sold ourselves to them. Like, we just kind of like being there at the open house was really just like selling it to them themselves. I mean, we really did look for agents who did have a lot of listings as well. So like it would kind of make sense for them to be like, hey, we can't really do that open house, so we'll be there. We'll be there for them in their place. So,
isn't it ironic that these listing agents, they have one of the most marketable things that you could have in real estate, which is a listing, right? Because I'm sorry, other people don't care about your glamour shot or whatever, right? They want listings, and yet they are too busy to hold them open. Don't worry, I'm not going to tell them why they should be. Great, you don't want to hold it open, I'll hold it open for you. But what an amazing opportunity.
All right, bam. By the way, if you want to see the rest of that interview, make sure you jump on eXp Realty's YouTube channel so you can actually find out more and see the rest of that show all the way from end to end. So make sure you register for Icon Lead Mastery, open houses, as well as the Open House Challenge. We're giving away some awesome prizes, so you don't want to miss that one. There's one thing you need to keep in mind when you're doing open houses, and it might sound a lot less exciting, but the most important part is compliance. You always want to make sure that you're protecting yourself and your clients. And one of the great ways to do that and keep everybody protected is our eXp solution partner, Seller Shield. Carrie from Seller Shield is going to take it away.
Hello, this is Carrie Arnold. This is your BAM agent segment. And today I am here to introduce Seller Shield to you. We are an eXp solutions partner and super excited to be here today. So two things about us is we were created to solve two big problems in the industry. The first is that the sellers are the only ones in a home sale that don't have any type of legal protection. And then where you guys come in is that if the seller gets sued, almost always you will be drug into that lawsuit as well. So we created two problems to help alleviate that. The first is our gold standard disclosure process. And you can think of this as like a TurboTax, but specific for that seller's disclosure form. And then the second thing we created is our home sale legal protection. And this is going to be kind of like what you guys have for E&O insurance, but this is specific for that home seller. This here is a heat map of all of the current states we are active in. This is just to show you that we are not a new company. We have over 120,000 active agents. We've done almost 500,000 disclosures and protected over 100,000 sellers. So never been a better time to protect yourself and protect your sellers and just make sure those listings are tip-top shape every single time. So to go into our products a little bit more, our gold standard disclosure process uses the exact same state forms you already use. So we partner with the Board of Realtors. We take those forms, we digitize them, make them interactive. We provide definitions, tips, examples, and we kind of handhold your seller through that entire disclosure process so that they don't miss questions, have to come back, ask you things. And then our form is also never going to allow them to send that to you until it's 100% complete. So it'll save you time by giving you back that form completed and accurate every single time. So aside from it separating you as the agent from this seller's disclosure form, therefore making it less likely for you to be drug into post-sale disputes, this is also completely free, guys, and it is integrated directly into SkySlope. So the second thing that we created through our disclosure platform is our home sale legal protection. This is completely optional, and majority of the time it's the seller that purchases this. But if they do choose to opt into our home sale legal protection, at the first sign of any type of dispute, even a verbal dispute, we would jump in, hire them a local expert real estate attorney, provide them support from start to finish, and we would pay up to $75,000 of their legal defense fees. So this would cover any buyer-seller dispute post-closing and can be purchased anytime up until the date of closing. So all of this is just really peace of mind for the seller post-closing, and all of our packages are very reasonable and cost less than 1 hour of a legal consultation. Like I said, we are also integrated with SkySlope. It's very easy, seamless transaction. To get started, all you would do is go to the Forms tab and select Send Disclosures. That's then going to take you right here where you can select from the available forms that Seller Shield has available to you guys, depending upon the state you're in. And then it's going to use this pop-up here, and it's just going to let you know that Seller Shield is used to reduce legal risk, save time, stay efficient. You just select the Got It button. And then it's going to take you here, and you can, again, choose from those disclosures that you want to send, or you can let your seller choose, and then you'll select the Send Forms button. Once you do that, your seller will receive this exact email right here, and it's just letting them know that you as the agent are requesting that they fill out that property disclosure form using Seller Shield. At that point, it will take them to also create a password and gain access to our Seller Shield dashboard, which is where they will have access to this sheet right here. This is going to be an entire platform. You can see on the left-hand side, they're going to be able to view the percentage they've completed, all of the sections. There is a legal tip sheet at the top right-hand corner, as well as a video that stays stagnant throughout the entire process. But again, our form is very user-friendly and just a better user experience for your seller all around. It has definitions, which you can see in the top here. There's also going to be areas where they flag common problem areas where we see lawsuits happening, letting them know to, hey, slow down, take your time on this question. This is where we see a lot of lawsuits happening. And like I said, as well, it will not allow them to move forward and send the form to you as the agent until every single thing has been completed throughout this form. So saving you a ton of time, making sure everything has been answered to the best of its ability. And again, just reducing that risk for both you and your seller. Once they have completed that form and signed, date, and initialed that document, all of their completed forms will go back into your envelope in SkySlope Forms. And then everything will be completed at that point. Your seller can go back in and edit that document at any time up until closing. They would just need to re-sign, date, and initial the document, but it just is a much easier experience to edit things and go in and, have it seamless between you and your seller. This is our QR code. Please log in. These are resources for you and your seller. This is completely free to you. There's a listing packet flyer in this QR code, and there's also pricing and information about our home sale legal protection. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to our support team. We are always here and love working with our EXP agents.
All right. Thank you, Carrie from Seller Shield. Make sure you check them out. This last piece of the compliance puzzle today is brought to you by the one and only Holly Mabery in our brokerage brief. She's always bringing the information for you to keep yourself safe and informed. Take it away, Holly.
So the spring market has been a bit of a roller coaster. As an agent, we're always watching the numbers, but as a seller, it's a little bit different. I personally am trying to sell my home right now. So I have access to the data, I have access to the numbers, and I really wanted to understand what I should know to better strategically place my house. So I wanted to go at it from the buyer's lens. I've got some things for you. Let's check this out, right? Buyers right now have a total edge in this market. And so I was really thinking about you as you were out working with buyers, some data points, and then also some strategies. So as we look at the spring market, the keys to winning right now are going to be definitely negotiating, obviously local market insights, your client strengths and challenges in their purchase options. Now, what does that mean? More on that in a minute. And then, of course, the key in all of this, no money left behind. So as we look at everything, let's start at the macro level, right? We're going to get out and we're going to go really big. We've got 3.7 months of supply nationally across the US. This was what was so interesting in pulling these stats. Inventory started climbing April 9th of 2026. We were seeing more and more inventory. Our median list price, we were at $430,000. We had an inventory of about 725,000. And then our median days on market was 63. That's continuing to expand. Now, this is what's throwing off that median days on market. The upper Northeast, right? Anything around New York, Connecticut, maybe Boston, those markets continue to be very aggressive, multiple offers, things of that nature. But you get it down into the Southeast or the Southwest, we've slowed down. And so 63 days is really starting to expand. But like all national numbers, what's happening for you locally? What are you seeing? And I know for me, when I started to dive into my local market, it looks like we're pushing 65, 70, 75 days on market. Okay, great. Now, this is where I start to think about perspective. Perspective becomes so important when we start to look at inventory then versus now. And the active housing inventory pre-pandemic versus December of 2025, this is what was so interesting. And of course, I'm in Arizona. So 9%, we're up 9%. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. Texas, a little bit more aggressive. You've got a lot more on the market, but you look at that upper Northeast, it's all bright orange. This is what's going on. And so why I look at pre-pandemic 2029 or 2019 versus now, the pandemic was an anomaly for the real estate industry. It was an anomaly in how we shifted our mindset, what became a priority. That's when you saw the most gains, all of those things. We saw housing increase across the country in upwards of 50%. As a result, how we go forward becomes really, really important. So keeping that perspective makes a difference. So far this year, we've got new listings. As of last week, we're averaging right around 70,000 per week, right? Our pendings are right around 279. So we still don't have enough inventory for the buyers that we have. And again, remember, this is all compartmentalized. This is a national data of what this looks like. As you start to look forward, this is where the roller coaster comes in. And we started at that peak, right? When you start on a roller coaster, that first climb is so big, so big, so big, because it's momentum. Well, normally at this point in the spring market, we would be on another big peak. Not so the case. In January, we were averaging about 196,000 mortgage applications. As of April 15th, we were substantially less, 160,000 mortgage applications. And what's important here in looking at this index is so much of this is consumer uncertainty, right? The conflict or the war impacting everything from interest rates to whatnot. And you can see that other little bump from the high in January, that was when the interest rates started to drop, and they dropped below 6. So let's talk about perspective again. When you look at interest rates through the decades, the historical average is about 7.7%, about what I was going to pay for my first house. I was so excited when I got locked in at 7.2. So the lowest interest rate ever was July 2020 when it dropped to 2.6. But you can see, by and large, like rates have been steadily down, like below 7.7. And so 2024, 6.7, 25, 6.6. The current is right around 6.43. So these are things to talk about. So when everybody's like, oh, the market's going to crash, rates are going to come tumbling down. No, it's not going to happen like that. I think it's really important that you and I level set expectations and have a good conversation. So let's talk about strategies in this market. Because we know rates are going to stay somewhere between that 6 to 6.5, maybe bump up a little bit, but still everybody's saying between now and the end of the year for the US, we're probably going to see rates right around 6, maybe 6.2. I wanted to give you the strategy and the thought process of what it would look like if we did a rate buy down. And this is where the buyer can come in and they can say, okay, I want to buy down my interest rate. I want a little bit more money. In that sort of thing. So they could do 5% down and have the seller contribute a 2-1 buy down. And the 2-1 buy down means over 2 years, they buy down 1 point. Okay. So the sales price, I just went off of $400,000 because that's about the average happening right now. Down payment at 5% is $20,000. Loan amount, $380. The current rate, 6.4. The first year effective rate, 4.40. The second year effective rate, 5.40, right? So they're going to buy down 2 points over 1 year. This is what's interesting. Year 3, it goes back up to 6.4. So it allows that buyer to get some momentum that first 2 years. First year, principal and interest only, $1,900. But by the time you get to year 3, it's the actual long-term payment, which is $2,300. So the cost is $8,600. Does it make sense? It depends. Now, if you do 10% down, buyer puts more money down, and you don't buy down the rate, you can see where the price of the mortgage is a little bit less. Now, this is the thing. I want to show this to you in a graph kind of perspective, because scenario 1, the buyer wins on cash flow and flexibility, right? They get to keep $20,000 in their pocket, and their rate is significantly lower. And if the rates drop in the next 2 years, they can refinance, which is great. Scenario 2, they put the extra $20K down, and they're just locked in at that 6.4. Okay, great. They have a small savings, about $100 a month. So as we strategize with your buyer, it depends on how long they're going to hold the house. NAR is telling us that the average buyer holds the house for 11, 12 years. Some buyers are holding it in their mindset much longer. So this may or may not make sense. It's all about the strategy of what the buyer is going to use to negotiate and what other closing costs. And this goes to strategy number 2, right? What to know in their total closing costs. As you're meeting a buyer for the first time, obviously we're trying to educate them and talk through like what makes sense, what's important to them in their property. But if the lender will approve how much in their closing costs, will they approve a rate buy down? Will they approve offset of other things? Is there down payment gift or assistance coming in if it's an FHA loan? Like that could be a huge difference as well. And pro tip, I learned this the hard way. I had an FHA loan. The buyer was actually getting a credit or getting a gift assistance from a family member. The family member actually just deposited the down payment into their account. The money had to be seasoned for 3 months. 3 months we couldn't buy a house because the family member just put it into their son's account. And they can't put it in and take it out. Like the bank, the lender doesn't allow that. So learn from my mistake. It was a hard one to learn. And especially because the person giving the gift was also a real estate agent. It was a super bummer. So have these questions with your lender up front. The other thing I found is sometimes you're negotiating for prepaying the HOA, pool service, snow removal, depending on where you're at. And like an HOA prepaid, oh my gosh, maybe the HOA is like $500 a month. Cool. You prepay that for a year. Now the buyer doesn't have to worry about that. And sometimes there's a little more ease there. Other strategies I want you to think about is repairs as leverage. You and I walking up to a house are always going to be very proactive, looking at the property. What does it need? Is there dry rot? Does it need paint? How's the roof? But you and I also need to dive a little bit deeper on what will FHA or VA require versus a conventional loan. See, FHA may require the house to be painted. They may require trim or the roof. And this is what's interesting. I bought a house in December, and the insurance company actually sent somebody out for a drive-by to make sure that there were no issues with the roof or anything like that. And that's becoming more common. So it's not just the lender that may ask. It could be the insurance company. This is where the conversation you and I have as far as what is a walkaway point for a buyer, strategically understanding what would cause them to cancel, it's just makes the house purchase untenable. Like the seller won't fix the roof, the seller won't paint, whatever it may be. What does it make sense? And I always start with health and safety, right? If it's a health and safety item, great, let's get that fixed. That's priority 1. Then you go into what's nice to have, what's required by the lender. And this is the other thing, strategy-wise, some sellers don't care about what your lender requires. Just something to think about. Now, this is something that I want you to be aware of on how you blow up deals and leave money on the table. So the scenario is this: the buyer requests repairs, whatever it might be. Maybe it's a roof, maybe it's paint, it's whatever. The seller counters with the credit to the buyer at closing for $20,000. That sounds great. With $20,000, I can go pay. I can have these things done. This will be no problem. The problem is this: the loan costs are only $7,000. And the seller had already agreed to pay $7,000 for the loan costs. So in theory, the seller's crediting the buyer $27,000 at closing. The lender won't allow it. That's actually money left on the table. But when they go to close, they can't have a cash out of $20,000 because that will send red flags to most lenders, especially FHA or VA. So it's really important for you and I as professionals to counsel the buyer that, hey, there may be circumstances that we need to just reduce the price, because that 20 grand, like, you don't get it. You don't get to touch it. It's a problem. You may not get it as a cash at close. So a couple of scenarios where you could reduce the price. Okay, great. Well, the repairs still aren't done and need to be. Or you can have that money attached to a contractor's bid, and the title company or closing company pays that out after the fact. Now, some of them won't do that. That's a problem. Now, I've also seen where lenders will say, okay, we'll allow like the deck to be repaired, but it has to be done within a 2-week window or a 30-day window. And then they will send people back out to get it done. And the challenge is, can you get a contractor fast enough? So while I love, as a seller, just giving a credit and walking away because now it's their problem, as a buyer's agent, I want you to go through, will the lender accept it? What will happen if you just reduce the price and the buyer doesn't have the money to fix it? What may occur long term down the road? This is a buyer beware, have a deeper conversation. Now, of course, you and I are always going to be negotiating with price and data insights. And this is where all agents are pulling CMAs, right? Some of our states actually require us to pull a CMA at time of offer and have the buyer sign off on it. I will tell you, my favorite thing right now is taking my cell phone and using RPR and using the app to pull data that way and actually do a CMA there. It's got some AI insights to it, which is super fantastic. And then I can put in my information because I know the market. And that brings me to AI challenges. There's been a lot of agents talking about, hey, AI is negotiating these things and it's really hard. But this is what's interesting. AI will always respond to how the question is framed. So if you have a seller's mindset of, don't you think my house is worth this much? Well, yes, I do. So glad you asked. But if a buyer comes in and says, hey, I've got a house under contract at this price, I don't think it's worth as much. Can you pull me comps that say, what I should be paying? Amazingly, it becomes skewed. This is where it becomes so important. You and I are having honest conversations with our clients, and we show them that point on ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude, and we run those scenarios of what it would look like. At the end of the day, your action plan needs to be really, really key. And I apologize, it says 6 steps, but counting is hard. So I want you to empower your clients. At the end of the day, I want you to educate them on what to expect in your market, especially if they're moving from out of state or out of town. If they haven't bought or sold in the last year, life is completely different. The forms has changed. Obviously, you and I are negotiating our compensation up front, usually before we even open the door, and they're signing an agreement to work together. So how we can use that data consistently and educate them at each property makes a huge difference. And again, RPR on your phone, you can be in the property, pull the MLS, do a quick analysis, share that with them. You can email it right from your phone or text it, which is amazing. So they've got that real-time data insight as you're walking through the property. I want you to lay out strategies. Every buyer is so unique. And in this market, helping them understand, do this, not that, will make all the difference. So at the end of the day, know your market numbers, right? Your average days on market, your absorption rate, and price reductions. I want you to know the interest rate, what it looks like if they were to do a buy down, and any appraisal challenges your lenders are talking about, if they're seeing more and more of this type of challenge in your marketplace. We're always going to support you at EXP, and we want to make sure you've got every resource possible. So here's a quick link to the buyer toolkit, and we are always updating that. I'm really excited what we keep pushing out for you. If you have any questions, please tap into your local broker. We are super excited to help you.
All right, there you go. Holly Mabery, always bringing us the good stuff to make sure you know what's going on, to keep you safe and informed. So one of the greatest things about being at EXPCon Vancouver is the feeling of connection. Already today, out there hugging people, making people feel loved and seen. One of my favorite parts of this job is making sure we connect with each and every one of you real estate agents out on the ground and in these events. So make sure you're plugged into your regional rallies. Make sure you're plugged into your state trainings, your EXPCons, and all of those other things. Any chance you get to connect, it will actually help move your business forward. Feeling connection is a big part of moving the ball forward. So thanks for joining us today. Don't forget to check out the QR code on the screen. Let us know how we did today. Give us a rating on a scale of 1 to 10. Let us know how we did. And make sure you add a comment. Let us know what you liked and let us know if there's something you want us to tweak. Thank you very much for staying tuned for EXPCon Vancouver edition Big Agent Meeting. See you guys next week.